Why are you doing this?
Computer audio is looking at that.
Okay.
All right, hi everyone. We'll start in a couple of minutes once David gets here. Just let me know if you need the booklets or anything else. Hello, hello. All right, I'm just gonna get the worksheets on the screen for you guys, and then we'll make a start, okay? Alrighty. So, before we start, I don't know if you guys have heard or not, but they've officially come out with some, oh, this is the wrong booklet, sorry. They've officially come out with a little bit of information about the structure of the thinking skills test. So it's going to be 40 questions in 40 minutes, if I'm correct. So that should give you an idea about how hard you can maybe expect those to be.
Surprisingly, maths is going to be in 35 questions.
Yeah, well, if it's going to be 35 questions, you might expect those to be a little bit harder then.
Yeah. Reading comprehension is 30 minutes to 30 questions.
Yeah. So
isn't reading comprehension 40 minutes, 30 questions?
Yes.
the time is still the same, but there's less questions. But you guys should be careful, right? If they're giving you more time for less questions, you're gonna be thinking that the questions are probably gonna be harder, right? So all of the questions that we give you guys here are probably on the harder end. But we give those to you guys as almost like an assurance that if you guys can do this, then you can definitely do the test. But now that we're thinking the exam might be harder, you guys should really, really be paying attention to those harder questions because there's a higher possibility that those could actually come up now. Just keep that in mind. I don't want to stress you guys out. All right. So today for Thinking Skills Class 10, we're doing applying principles. So this is very much in line with everything we've been doing in the last couple of weeks. So we'll just quickly read through the introduction and then I'll re-summarize that for you guys, okay? So it's another type of critical thinking question. Essentially, you need to identify a statement that follows the same principle as that which was relied upon by the argument of the passage. A principle is a general rule, which in this passage Sorry about that. We just received a phone call. But let me repeat myself. A principle is a general rule which in the passage will be applied to just one particular case, but which could also be applied to other cases. So to re-clarify, essentially, a principle is kind of like a rule which the argument kind of follows, or like an idea that the argument kind of follows. And you're trying to identify another point in the answers that follows a similar rule or idea, okay? So to do these questions, we got 3 steps. Step 1, find the conclusion. What is the point of the passage? What are the reasons given for the conclusion? So same as we've been always doing, once you read this, then you should be able to re-synthesize and conclude what that argument's trying to say in your own words, okay? Step 2, find what principle the argument relies on to draw the conclusion. How do they arrive at the conclusion? So essentially, they made a conclusion, but how do they get to that conclusion? What kind of argument, what kind of principle did their argument have to rely on to actually get to that conclusion? Okay. And step 3, which of the options apply the same principle? So once you've identified what principle underlied the argument, you need to figure out which of the options also uses the same principle or the same rule, okay? So I know you guys might have questions, but let's just go straight to the questions and we'll see how we go from there. If we don't understand it then, feel free to unmute yourself, ask me then, or just send it in the chat, okay? Let me just grab the charger for this iPad. It's gonna run out soon. Get that later. All right, let's start on the first question. So introduction question 1. When Sunny broke her writing hand, she was determined to learn how to use her other left hand to write. Now that her right hand is fully healed, Sunny can now use both hands to write. So essentially the summary is, after Sunny broke her right hand, she spent a lot of time using her left hand to write. But now that her right hand's healed, both her hands are now able to write, okay? So which of the following best illustrates the principle underlying the argument? So question 1's a bit of an easier one. Instead of giving you a bunch of options where you have to identify the principle yourself and then find another argument that follows the same principle, question 1 here is only asking for what that key principle is, right? So they haven't gotten you to do the step 3. They're just asking you directly, what do you think your step 2 is going to be, okay? Remember, step 2 here was, how did they arrive at the conclusion? Okay. All right. So, to go through them, life is hard, and sometimes it's better to just give up. So, Sunny, we can see here, didn't just give up. Sunny tried to learn with her left hand, and now she's able to write with both. So that's wrong. B, it is better to be safe than sorry. So, here, that doesn't really make sense because it's not an issue of being safe or sorry, right? Because she's not preventing anything. Something bad has already happened, and now she's dealing with that. So it's not about being safe or sorry, right? It's about dealing with the consequences, right? And C, challenges can make you stronger and better. Now, this is a good principle to follow, right? Because essentially, she's encountered a challenge and she's had to deal with that, and she's come out of that even better than before, right? And D, your friends will help and support you during the tough times. So D, there's no mention of friends, okay? So D is not going to be relevant. So the best answer here is going to be C, okay? Can you guys see that? Okay.
Excuse me, what was 1?
C. Just pull up the answers on my phone so I can just make sure for you guys. But I'm almost certain that the answer is the first one's going to be C. Okay. All right. So once again, question 1 only got you guys to do step 1 and step 2. Step 1 being summarizing the conclusion of the text, and step 2 being drawing an idea on how they arrived to that conclusion, what principle they had to use, right? So question 2 now, it's going to get you to do step 1, 2, and 3, which is essentially you got to identify other arguments that follow the same principle, okay? So Reading through it, hospitals, universities, and other institutions are good for the public and are quite successful, even though individual staff members does what he or she does only for selfish reasons. All right, so to summarize, they're essentially saying that hospitals, unis, and other public institutions are successful, even though the people who work there are only really in it for themselves. Okay, so a lot of the times when it comes to trying to identify the key principle, it can be useful to actually read through the answers first, right? Because you might not always get the same principle that they're looking for, right? So you might want to just go through the answers to see from there what you think the key principle would be, okay? So let's go through the answers. A, what is true of some organizations is not necessarily true of all organizations. Now, A is irrelevant to us, right? We're not talking about the fact that different organizations are different. We're talking about organizations work even though the people inside them are just out for themselves, okay? So A is wrong. B. Give me a second. I'm just gonna see if I can get these calls to stop interrupting our iPad for a sec. So, iPad because every time he gets a call, my call gets.
Actually, don't know these that well, but
No, it's because every time you get a call, it like interrupts this call. That's it. All right. Sorry, guys. Sorry about the interruptions. We'll just cop the interruptions today, but I think next term, we'll make sure that this iPad stops forwarding from the phone so that the calls will go uninterrupted. Okay. But for today, there might be a couple interruptions. Anyways, B. An organization can have a purpose that is bigger than its individual members. Now that sounds like exactly what we're looking for, right? Because remember, the point of our argument was that, you know, these organizations, these public facilities, they all work, even though the people inside them are just in it for themselves, right? And B is essentially saying the same thing, that an organization can do something that's bigger than each of its individual members, okay? If we look at C and D, C, people often claim altruistic motives for actions that are in fact selfish. C is going to only deal with people themselves, right? People think that they're being altruistic even though they're being selfish. Altruistic means that people want to give and do good for other people without any ulterior motives, right? But this isn't really relevant. They're talking about organizations and the people inside them, not just about people, right? And D, many social institutions have social consequences unintended by those who founded them. Now, D is kind of irrelevant here, right? Because essentially, D here is only talking about social institutions, and it's talking about unintended consequences, which we don't really talk about unintended consequences, right? So, best answer for question 2 is going to be B.
So it's D?
B for bat.
Okay.
All right. Feel free to ask questions if you guys are not really getting this. All right. Question 3. When Anna left the house, the weather was perfect and with not a single cloud in the sky. But on her way to the bus stop, it started thundering and pouring rain. Luckily, despite how bulky it was, she had brought her umbrella just in case and was protected from the rain. Okay. So in essence, right, Anna here has left the house and it's quite sunny. She's going to the bus stop, but as she started going there, it started to rain, right? But she brought her umbrella just in case, and now that's come in handy. Now she's safe. Okay.
So isn't it B, but what you're saying that it's better to be safe than sorry. So you better bring your umbrella even though there's not a cloud. But
yes, the answer will be B. Essentially, the principle here is it's better to be safe than sorry, right? Because he or she has taken precautions to be safe, right? And she's prevented herself from actually undergoing certain consequences because she took the principle of being better safe than sorry. Okay. So this is very similar to the first question, and you can see the answer options are the same, right? So yeah, B would be the answer here. That best matches. A, life is hard and sometimes it's better to give up. She doesn't really give up here, right? We have no evidence of her giving up. C, challenges make you stronger and better. So here, the challenge, like it's not overcoming the challenge that she's done. It's more that she was prepared for the challenge beforehand. Okay. And D, your friends will help and support you. No mention of friends, so that's going to be irrelevant. Okay. So once again, question 3 is going to be B. Question 2 was also B. All right. Question 4. Because people are better at finding mistakes in others' work than in their own, a sensible approach should always be to have one's own work be checked by someone else. So, question 4, we've actually done this question before, I think, either in WMG or during last week's challenge exercises. I can't remember which one. But essentially, the conclusion of this text is that because people are better at finding other people's mistakes than their own, it's sensible to get people to essentially check each other's work. Okay. Now, which of the following best illustrates this principle? A, the best elementary school math teachers are not those who found math was also always easy. Teachers who had to struggle through math are better able to explain math to students. So the core principle underlying A is the fact that people who have struggled through something are better at explaining it and teaching it, right? But our thing is that people are better at checking each other's work. So people should check each other's work. A, therefore, is wrong, right? A is nothing to do with our main principle, right? B, you should clearly explain your views to someone else. B is too simplistic. It's not really dealing with the same principle, right? We're talking about checking each other's work. They're talking about clearly explaining your views, which is completely different, right? C, people should always have their writing proofread by someone else. Someone who did not write it is in a better position to spot spelling errors. Now, C is very close to what we're looking for, right? Because remember, we're talking about checking other people's work because people are better at catching other people's errors. And in C, they're saying it's better to have your writing proofread by someone else because someone who did not write it, essentially someone else is also better at finding your same errors, right? So C is a very similar principle to what we're saying here. And D, finally, two people going out for dinner will have a more enjoyable meal if they order for each other. By allowing someone else to choose, you get new and exciting dining experiences. Now, D is somewhat similar, but the difference is we're talking about finding mistakes. And D is talking about other people being better at finding things that you might find exciting, right? So they're similar in that it's, two people doing different things for each other, but it's not about preventing mistakes. Here, it's talking about finding new and exciting experiences, right? So C is going to be the best answer here. And on to question 5. Mick has been at his friend's birthday party all night. Therefore, Mick should drink plenty of water before he falls asleep. So, essentially for question 5, the summary is that because he's been at his friend's birthday party all night, he has to drink a lot of water before he sleeps. There's not a lot of there's not a lot to infer off that, right? It's quite literal. So which of these best describes the principle underlying the above argument? So A, anyone who has been drinking a lot of water, anyone who has been drinking a lot should drink several glasses of water before going to sleep. When they say drinking a lot, of course, they're referring to alcohol, right? The implication being that because Mick has been at his friend's birthday party, they've been drinking a lot of alcohol, right? Now, 5 is a pretty good principle, right? Just because it makes sense, right? It makes sense. If Mick has been at his friend's birthday party all night and they've been drinking a lot of, wine, right? Then he should drink water before he goes to sleep because anyone who drinks a lot should drink some glass of water before going to sleep, right? So A here is very much in line with what we're trying to answer. B, Mick has many good friends because he is invited to the birthday party. Now, B is kind of irrelevant, right? We're not really talking about having good friends, right? So that's not really relevant to the party, to the problem. C, he was not feeling well that night because he forgot to bring a present to the party. Now, C is not going to be that good, even though it could be relevant, right? Just because even though you're not feeling well, that
What was
I'll rehash the answers after. But essentially, B is not a good answer. Sorry, C is not a good answer just because you're feeling well doesn't necessarily infer that you should be drinking a lot of water when you sleep, right? It's also because there's no mention of him not bringing a present to the party, right? So both parts of C are a little bit further than what we're and D, Mick decided that morning that he did not want to go to the birthday party, but one of his friends changed his mind. Now, D is completely different, right? Because D is talking about whether or not he wanted to go in the first place, but that's not really relevant to whether or not Mick should be drinking plenty of water, okay? So we can see here that B, C, and D are all like further inferences than what we're actually looking for. So the best answer here is going to be A, okay? So to rehash the answers for the first 5 questions, question 1 was C, question 2 was B for bat, 3 was B as well for bat, 4 was C for cat, and 5 was A for animal. So before we go into the practice questions, I'm going to stop here for a little bit. I'm going to make sure that you guys understand this. So if you guys have any other questions, any concerns, any questions that you didn't really understand, feel free to just message me in the chat or unmute yourselves. Otherwise, I'm going to go into the practice questions. Final call.
What was 5?
5 was A for animal.
What was 4?
4 was C for cat. Alrighty. Looks like no one has any questions. We're going to go on to the practice questions then. So let's go from questions 6 to 10. God damn it, this pen's not attached. Sorry. All right, questions. Why is this pen not working? All right, questions 6 to 10. I'll give you guys about 7 minutes for that, okay? So we'll start marking at about 10 o'clock, okay? So just go ahead on that, and then we'll start marking.
How many questions should we do?
Questions 6 to 10.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So Divi, just go from 6 to 10. But if you work ahead, feel free to do the challenge questions. Sorry, guys. Just got to quickly clean up a spill here on the table. And then we'll start marking. All right. Sorry about that, guys. So, are we ready to mark the answers? I hope you guys are ready. So I'm just going to start reading them out in a couple of
Yes.
seconds.
Yes.
So, question 6 is going to be C. Question 7 is going to be C. Question 8 is going to be D. Question 9 is going to be B. And question 10 is going to be A.
9 is B.
9 is B, B for bat.
Can you repeat 7 and 8?
7 was C for cat. 8 was
Wait.
D for dog. 6
Wait, no.
was C for cat.
9
Nine-
nine should be C.
Yeah, exactly. 9 should be C.
Yeah.
All right, I'll go through question 9, just to make sure.
What was question 10?
Sorry, question
What
10.
was question 10? 9 is D.
A. 10 was A for animal. 6
Nine.
was C for cat. 8 was D for dog. All right, which question should I cover? I'll cover question 9 to make sure the answer is correct. But were there any other requests you guys had? Any other questions that you guys found difficult? Alrighty.
What was the answer for 7?
7 was C for cat. All right, looks like you guys aren't doing too bad on this topic then.
What was
I'll
number
cover-
8? What was number 8?
8 was D for dog.
And what was number 10?
10, A for animal.
Okay. Yeah, 9 should be C.
Yeah.
Okay,
It is C.
I'll go through.
It makes no sense. Was
So I'll go
Complement's
through.
pen.
yeah, it can't be unlucky.
Yeah, it
Let
says in the last paragraph he should have.
Yep. Guys, let me go through it and then we'll see. Because the answer could very well be wrong. Okay. So question 9. Steve said the reason why he failed the test was because the pen he was using was unlucky, but in fact the reason why Steve failed was because he did not really know what was going on in that class. Instead of blaming his pen, he should have blamed himself for studying more. So to summarize, Steve says his pen's unlucky, but in actuality, he just didn't pay attention in class, right? So instead of blaming his pen, he should have studied more, taken more personal responsibility, right? So the principle is A, it takes one to know one. So this is essentially saying that he said his pen is unlucky, but his pen is only unlucky because he is unlucky, which is dumb, right? Because they said that it's because he didn't pay attention in class. B, Steve's pen must have been unlucky. Okay, so B is going to be wrong, because we've concluded just from this stem that it's not his pen that's unlucky. It's him that's
the
it's him
answer.
that Jasmine. I'll just finish it off. So it's not the pen that's unlucky. It's because he's not paying attention. C, a bad workman blames his tools. Now that is a good principle because essentially we know that Steve hasn't been paying attention, so Steve is a bad workman, and his tool that is blaming is his pen. Okay. D, Steve stayed up too late the night before his exam. So D is not necessarily true either because we don't know this. And there's another reason that's explicitly given where it's said that he just literally does not pay attention in class, right? So D is going to be wrong as well. So the best answer here is going to be C. All right, Jason, what would you want to say?
So was B wrong in the answer sheet?
B was wrong. The answer sheet said B. So the answer would be C. So you guys can correct that if you want. All right. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm getting the impression that you guys find these not too bad. Is that correct?
I think they're quite
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're
All right.
quite
Not that
easy.
hard.
Easy.
Yeah.
How about
they're
let's
easy.
do the next 5, and I'm gonna give you guys 5 minutes this time. Okay.
Wait, 11's weird.
All right. I'll give you guys 6 minutes. I'll give you guys to 11. Okay. So let's do the next 5 questions. I'm gonna give you guys some time to do that. And then once we come back, we'll mark and go through those. Okay.
Like, don't you mean 10, 11?
Yeah.
Sure.
Not the-
We just did question 6 to 10, so we're doing 11 to 15 now.
No, I mean, you put the time as 11.
Yeah, it's 11,
Yeah.
11.
Sorry,
it's
10,
1
11.
hour.
It should be 10
1
and
hour.
11. That's 1
Yeah,
hour later.
Sorry, 10, 11. That's
No,
my
what
bad.
was the answer to 10?
Yeah, that's an hour.
Answer to 10 was A. A for animal.
Okay.
All right. Well, you guys go.
What did you finish? What did you finish?
Sorry.
What did you finish?
You can go on to the challenge questions if you want.
I
we'll be
finished the
covering those
challenge
after.
questions.
Sorry.
I finished the challenge questions.
Okay. On the booklet, like if you finish early, you can keep working forward onto the homework questions as well. But if you have finished everything, I guess just chill. Once we finish through the challenge questions as a class, we'll go through. We'll start going through the other workbooks, the Cambridge workbooks that we went through last time. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So,
Time's up.
the 6 minutes up, so we're gonna start marking now. So I'll give you guys a couple seconds to get your bearings, and I'm gonna start reading them through. Okay. So we're marking the answers. Question 11 is D. D for dog. Question 12 is B for bat. Question 13 is A for animal. 14, B for bat. And 15 is D for dog. So again,
Can you repeat
11,
11? Can
D.
you repeat 11 and 12?
Yeah, 11, D. 12, B. 13,
Can you do 12?
A.
Can you do
Huh?
12?
I'll do
Can you
12.
do 12?
I'll do 12. 14, B. 15, D. All right.
You
Someone's
do 12?
asking me to write them in the
12.
chat. Sorry. 12?
12.
Okay. Any other questions?
Is 13A?
13 was A.
Wait, I don't get 12. Why is Betty is jealous of Penny's things because she didn't have time to fix it. It's not because she's jealous.
I'll go through question 12 and
Why
then
are
we'll
there so many
see,
wrong answers?
we'll see if the answer is right or wrong there.
I've got a feeling it's wrong.
Okay.
Then what is 12?
I haven't got the answer. So if the answers are wrong, then I'll have to work through it to
I
get the
think
right
it's-
answer for you guys.
find a good
But someone's asked question 11 first, so we'll do that one first, and then we'll get to question 12, right? And if anyone else wants any more questions, feel free to ask in the chat or just unmute yourself and ask me, and then we'll go through those after as well. Okay. All right. So let's start on question 11. 11. After trying all the medicines, Danny is now visiting herbal witches to get a cure for his baldness. Which one of the following best uses the principle underlying the argument? Okay, so essentially, to re-summarize, Danny's tried all medicines and now he's relying on herbal witches to cure his baldness. So essentially, he's poured out all the stuff and now he's relying on, mumbo jumbo, right? So on the option A, Tina couldn't choose between which of the dresses she wanted to wear, so she bought all of them. So A is saying that because she couldn't choose which one, she did everything, right? Whereas Danny he's already tried everything, and now he's at his wit's end and he's trying some, mumbo jumbo, unproven voodoo witch science stuff, right? Basically stuff that's not proven to work. B, it was easy for the maid to hide the dishes because she knew the place really well. Now B is again different from what our answer is saying, because B is
What were
essentially
the answers again? What were the answers?
I'll read them after question 11.
He sent it in the chat.
They're in the chat as well.
Can I explain?
So B, it was easy for the maid to hide the dishes. Essentially, just means that she's saying that because she knows the place well, she can hide the dishes. But once again, that's really, really far away from what our main argument was, right? C, Adrian got laughed at for thinking he could cure baldness by watering his head. Now, C could be similar, right? But C is essentially saying that he got laughed at for even thinking that could work, right? But our stem here is actually saying that Danny tried everything before he decided to go for this unproven cure, right? So see, even though they're talking about similar subjects, at the end of the day, the key principles are a little bit different, right? Because we're not talking about someone getting laughed at for saying something's true when it isn't. We're talking about someone trying something that's known to not be true because they've exhausted all other options, right? D. Since Annie had no more food left in her home, she had to eat the mushrooms
Wait,
she hated, or else she would starve. Now D is going to be the correct answer, right? Because essentially D, Annie's exhausted all of her options. She's eaten all the food that she possibly could have eaten at home, and now she's relying on her final option, which is to eat the mushrooms that she really hates. Okay?
So it would be D because like because Danny used everything he could, so now he has to use something else, and Annie used everything she could, so now he has to eat the mushrooms.
Yeah, so it would be D. Yeah, essentially. All right. So if that makes sense, I'm gonna go on to question 12.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Question 12. Since they didn't have any time to fix it, Betty did not tell Penny that her costume was missing a petal at the back because she knew that Penny would become very stressed out about it. Okay, so to re-summarize, Betty didn't tell Penny that part of her costume was broken just because they didn't have time to fix it and she knew she'd stress out about it. So the principle there is going to be something along the lines of, if you can't do anything about a problem, why even worry about the problem in the first place, right? So which one of the following best describes the principle underlying the argument? So A, lying is bad. So lying is bad is a bit simplistic. It's not really dealing with the same principle we're trying to argue here, right?
Because
it's a bit
there's a
simple.
white lie.
Yeah, it's a white lie, right? It's not exactly lying just for malicious intent. B, Betty purposefully ruined Penny's costume because she was very jealous. Now, B is not proven. It's not really a principle that underlies it either. So I think B is going to be completely wrong as well. So the answer here would be incorrect. C, sometimes it is better to protect people by not telling them some things. Now, C is good. C is going to be very much in line with what our principle is, because our argument here is essentially saying that because we couldn't fix it, why bother telling her something that will stress her out, right? And C is essentially saying, we can not tell people things just to protect them, which we've essentially done here. And D, Penny is not actually a very good friend because she would have ignored Betty anyway. Now D is a hypothetical, right? Hypotheticals aren't principles. They're not. They don't underline our conclusions, right? They're something that you guess after you already made your conclusion. So D is going to be incorrect. C is going to be the correct answer. B is going to be incorrect. Is everyone happy with that?
Yeah.
Cool. Alrighty. Between 13, 14, and 15, did anyone want me to cover any of those?
No.
No?
No.
Wait, what was the answer for 13 again?
Answer for 13 would have been A.
Okay.
Did you want me to cover that? All right. I'll take silence as a no. So we'll go on to the challenge questions. I think because we have quite a lot of time, I am actually going to let you guys do the challenge questions on your own, and we'll mark through those. And then we'll have a break after that, okay? So challenge questions. Questions 16 to 20. I'm gonna give you guys a little bit more time, so I'll let you guys work till 10:26, right? And then we'll start marking, okay?
Why
So
are we
some of
so
you guys have already,
early? Why are we so early?
because we're going relatively quickly, and I think you guys are getting better at these kinds of thinking skills questions, so it's a little bit easier to cover.
When are we gonna
Hmm?
switch from thinking skills to maths instead of all this?
So this seminar is just for thinking skills. This isn't a math seminar or a reading comprehension seminar. So we're just going through a
No,
lot of
like
different-
what I mean is like we have like texts. When are we gonna switch to the like
right.
like add-ins and
Can we start doing the challenge questions?
Yeah, you can start. You guys can all start now. In terms of when we go to those topics, we'll get there when we get there. I don't really know the schedule, unfortunately. Okay. Feel free to ask me questions. Otherwise, I'll let you guys go off and do those.
I think it's
Time's
time up. Time's up.
All right, guys, let's start marking on these. So when you guys are
When do we
ready,
have our break?
so we'll have a break after this.
Like, can it be 10 minutes?
No,
Well, I'll
15.
give you guys a little bit longer, but it won't be 10 minutes. Okay,
15?
so to mark on these challenge questions, 16 was D, 17 was D, 18 was B, 19 was C, and 20 was D. Now I'm gonna put those in the
Can you
chat.
repeat that?
I'll put those in the chat. But can you guys make sure to ask me
Wait,
now
what?
which
16?
questions you guys want me to cover, and
Do
then I will
19.
cover those after the break. 19? Okay.
Yeah.
Can I have question 20?
20. Sure. 19 and 20.
Wait, what's 16?
It's on the chat. (19) C 20 D. All right. So I have right now 16, 19, and 20 to cover. And if anyone else has any other questions that they want me to cover, feel free to put in the chat. Okay.
You didn't put them in the
16
chat.
was D.
You didn't put them in the chat.
Yeah.
Oh, I put them privately. Oh my god.
Yeah, you put them privately. To who?
Degenerate. 16 D.
Why don't you just copy it and paste?
I don't know how to do it on iPad. It's kind of hard
Wow.
because it's sent as 5 separate messages, so it's probably easier just to type it.
Do we have a break now?
Yeah, you guys are on break now.
Wait, can
So-
you let us? Can
How long?
can you let us?
How
Can
long?
you?
break till
15 minutes.
no.
Yeah, 15, please.
10.
15, please.
10.
Wait,
Give you guys an 8-minute break. Longer than
David.
usual.
David,
Mhm.
Can you let us chat
can you let us to chat privately?
Try it privately. Yeah, I'll let you guys chat in the thing.
Can you let us
Let
chat
me change
privately and to everyone?
Yeah, let me just change the setting. I'll share screen, chat with everyone. Cool.
No, like privately also.
I think you guys are allowed to do that already. You just have to
Yeah,
pick
no,
it.
then that's only for everyone. Like privately means you can talk to one person only.
Yeah, you just press the person's name in the participants and then you can chat to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's on you. I can't change that. You guys have to change that on your own.
No, we can't. You can because it's only every.
Vibuti,
Is it only
type a
everyone?
message. Vibuti, type a message. I'll press on it.
Oh wait,
Alright.
sorry.
You guys are on break till 10:37. Okay.
There.
It's not working.
Yeah, you have to set it by
You have to set it. David. Oh yeah, he's gone.
Yeah. Is it not working?
Yeah, it's not working. You have to like set it like you did last time.
You have permission to. We don't.
Yeah.
Everyone. All right.
Oh,
Try
no,
now.
it's working now. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Oh my God, be quiet, can you?
Whoever is doing that, please stop.
I am responding.
Oh my god.
I didn't stop. Yeah. What you telling me to shut up? Are you telling me to shut up? And what?
Yeah, we
What are you saying? Ma'am, I'm going to ask you. We don't use these words on these premises. Okay, I'm going to ask you to leave the premises right now.
really.
I am not impersonating the.
Finally.
What you say? Why are you asking me to shut up? I am not acting like Nigerian. Yeah, you're right.
Break finished. Isn't break finished now?
Yep. Watching it like a hawk, Jasmine.
Breaks down.
Break is done. All right.
So there's so much chat. If you like scroll through, it takes you like 10 minutes.
I know.
Yeah. I'm going to start limiting the chat now that we're starting good. But I hope you guys had some fun.
I had 86 more messages.
Oh, yes, it was very fun, David. Why don't you do it again sometime, please? All of them
Who's saying that?
All right.
It's the other David Lou.
Let's go on to question 16. So, a patient's decision should always be final because an adult should be allowed to make their own free choices as long as the doctor is satisfied the patient knows all the information and risks. So, essentially what they're saying here is that patients should always have the final decision because adults should always be able to make a free choice as long as the doctor knows that they have all of the information available to them, okay? Now, which one of the following best uses the principle underlying the above argument? A, every year, many skiers get severe and sometimes deadly head injuries. For this reason, skiers should be encouraged to wear helmets at all times. So, for option A wouldn't necessarily be the best answer. And the main reason is because A is talking about, an injury that people can get and how we should prevent that. But we're talking about people being able to make their own choices. So A is a little bit different, right? B, cyclists who do not wear a helmet are at greater risk of serious injury. This is why the British Medical Association encourages the compulsory use of helmets. So B here, once again, is all about preventing injury, but it's not about people making their own decisions. This is about the British Medical Association encouraging people to do this, to do that, right? But it's a bit different again. C, some teenagers may be pressured into taking drugs while not fully aware of the risks involved. But this is a free country and drugs should be legalized. Now, C is different. Now, C is the most similar so far, but it's still different. The reason why is because we're talking about a patient's decision should be final, but they're saying that sometimes people get pressured into taking decisions, right? Which is still a little bit different, right? And the final point is a bit different, right? Because the final point in option C is saying that this is a free country and drugs should then be legalized, which is still different from what we're trying to argue, right? So C here is not going to be the correct option either. D, drivers know all the risks that they are taking if they do not wear a seatbelt. Therefore, they should be allowed to choose to wear a seatbelt or not. Now, D is going to be exactly what we're looking for, right? So D is essentially saying that drivers understand all the information associated with this decision, which is why they should be able to make this decision, right? And D is true, right? D is the same as what our question stem is arguing. Our question stem is arguing patients should get the final choice as long as they have all the information, right? And so D is going to be the answer, but we'll make sure E is not the answer. E, yes, Johnny did steal alcohol from the shop, but given that he was bullied into doing so, it would be wrong to punish him. Now, E is separate again. E is still talking about whether or not someone should be able to make the decision for themselves, but it's more so talking about whether or not they deserve the consequences that should come to them. And E is hence a little bit different from what we're looking for. So D is the best answer. Okay, let's go on to question 19. College X costs $50,000 per year and is dedicated to producing compassionate, caring, and curious leaders. College Y costs $35,000 per year, is a leading scientific research facility. Alicia's goals are to be the leader of a charity to provide assistance to underrepresented populations. Therefore, she decided to apply to College X rather than College Y. Okay. Alicia's decision most closely conforms to which of the following principles? A direct relationship exists between a college's cost and the quality of education it provides. Now, A isn't evidence from nothing. Actually, I forgot. I skipped a step for you guys. But to re-summarize the argument, essentially, College X costs more, and it's more aimed at producing caring, compassionate leaders. College Y costs less, but it's more aimed at being a good scientific research facility. What does Alicia want to do? Alicia wants to be a leader of a charity. So she decides to go to College X, right? And the main reason being College X produces compassionate, caring leaders, which is what a charity normally would be looking for. Okay, so A is going to be wrong because the main argument we have is not.
Can you do question 18, please?
Okay. But essentially A is wrong because our argument's not really dealing with the fact that cost is related to the quality of education, right? We don't say anything about quality of education. Our STEM is mostly talking about the different types of people that come out of the colleges, not the quality of the education. B, students should apply to smaller colleges that offer more personalized attention from professors. Now, B is a bit of an inference here, right? Because we don't talk anything about smaller colleges or anything about personalized attention from professors. So these are all purely inferences, which isn't a core principle, okay? C, students should apply to colleges that align with their goals. C is going to be correct, right? Because remember, Alicia wants to lead a charity. That's why Alicia wants to go to College X, because College X produces people that are compassionate and caring, which is what you need to be to run a charity, right? So C here is going to be a good answer because it directly relates to our core principles. D, the hardest way for students to know which college is the best fit for them is by researching each college's mission statement. Now, again, we don't really talk about a mission statement. We don't talk about what the best way to figure out the core, how to figure out which college is the best fit for someone, right? We don't talk about how we do that. Our argument's more talking about, why someone should choose one or the other university, right? So we can tell here that D is not going to be the correct answer here because it's a bit different from our core principles. So C is going to be the best answer, okay? Now, question 18. So this one's a little bit shorter. So I'm going to let someone read for me and maybe go through the options.
Can I?
All right, Sathini, go for it. Sathini, you can have the first shot.
Can I then have the second shot?
Okay.
Well, yeah.
Sathini, I'll make sure to give everyone a go. We've got plenty of time today, okay? So Sathini?
The local governments should make all the decisions that are required for their area. Only for big issues should the Australian federal government intervene.
All right, so pause. What do you think was the main idea, the main conclusion from this? Just re-summarize it in your own words.
That like the smaller decisions that don't really need that much attention should I don't know how to explain it, but
You're close. You're basically there. Just re-summarize it in your own words. You don't have to find the conclusion, but
So the things that don't need that much attention should the decision should be made with the local governments, and the bigger issues that are needed should be made with the Australian federal government.
good. That's essentially it, right? Small issues, local governments. Big issues, federal government. That's the entire summary, okay? So, do you want to run through the options and tell me why they are correct or wrong? Or do you want me to do that?
Yeah, you can do it.
Okay, I'll do it. So which one of the following best illustrates the principle underlying the argument? So A, there should be a European Telecom Markets Authority with the authority to overrule national regulators and split up dominant market players. Okay, so A is a little bit different from ours, right? Because ours is talking about local governments and small decisions, federal government and big decisions. Here, we're talking about something entirely different. They're talking about, European Telecom Markets Authority. We're talking about something that's outside of the government, a different regulating body that's trying to regulate, rules between dominant market players, essentially trying to regulate rules between different countries, right? So I understand that it might be confusing for you guys, but it doesn't mention the word government anywhere, right? And because it doesn't mention the word government, you can kind of conclude that that's going to be wrong, okay? B, charity is best carried out at a local or individual level. Larger state charities should only intervene to deal with global issues. Okay, so essentially B is dealing with a very similar idea. Now, I was wrong when I said, option A is wrong because it doesn't mention government, right? Option A is wrong because it doesn't undergo the same principle of small ideas should be with small decision makers, big ideas should be with big decision makers. That's the core principle, right? B here is following the essentially same core principle. It's saying that, you know, small charities are best dealing with local and individual level problems, and larger charities, sorry?
So wouldn't it be B?
The answer was B for 18.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought
and then
C.
larger charities should deal with larger global issues. So it's essentially the same principle. Yeah, Jasmine?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll quickly go through why C and D are wrong. Children should receive the same education regardless of where they live. Completely irrelevant, right? It's just like an argument about, you know, everyone getting free education or everyone getting equal education. But we didn't talk anything about, we didn't say anything about that. We're more talking about decisions made about society, right? And D, people should be allowed to do anything they want because
we're not talking about equality. We're talking about decisions.
Good. We're not talking about equality. And D is very similar, right? We're not talking about, you know, the right to make decisions, right? We're talking about who should make what decisions in society, right? So D is going to be wrong as well.
So can I read the next one?
Okay. I'll make sure to give everyone a go. So, you know, Diva, I can see that you want one. I'm sure there are some others, but I'll let Jasmine take this one, and then for the next one, I'll let someone else take it. Okay.
So we're doing 19.
We're doing question 19. Jasmine?
Okay. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. College X costs $50,000 per year and is dedicated to producing compassionate, caring, and curious leaders. College Y costs.
I think we just did this.
Yeah, I was like, why? Yeah.
Yeah. Why are we doing this again? Okay.
Yeah.
Question 20.
Albumin.
Stefan, I'll explain that after.
Albumin is an effective replacement for plasma in treating or preventing shock. It absorbs enough liquid to keep the blood vessels open. Albumin is better than plasma because it is lighter and it takes less space than plasma. Which of one best illustrates the principle illustrated by the stated advantage of using albumin as a substitute for plasma? A. The use of...
Okay, hold up. So can you re-summarize the STEM for me?
So it's basically saying that we should use albumin instead of plasma because albumin it can help preventing shock, and it will absorb enough liquid to keep the blood vessels open, and also is lighter and takes less space.
Good. Let me just clear it up for you. The reason why they say it absorbs enough liquid to keep the blood vessels open essentially means that they're like when you go into shock, it essentially just means that blood is not getting to a lot of the important areas of your body.
It's not moving.
Right?
It's not moving.
It's not that it's not moving. It's just that the blood's not getting to the appropriate places.
Like
right?
hearts.
That could be for many, many different reasons. Right? Now, what happens when blood's not getting to the right places? Well, we just give them more fluid, right? So that we can push a lot of their blood to the right places. Now, they're saying that when we give them this thing called albumin, right, they're saying it absorbs enough liquid to keep the blood vessels open. Essentially, it means that we're giving them something that sucks water into the blood vessels. And if you suck water into the blood vessels, it's the same as giving them fluid, right? And that's going to hold their blood vessels open. But yeah, go on to the options. Jasmine?
Yeah.
Yep, you can go into the options.
The use of nominal rather than solid metals can increase the cost but enables them to be stronger. A newspaper can increase advertising revenue without increasing...
Go through why each of them is correct or wrong.
So the correct answer should be D, and that's because it's basically like saying...
No, read it and then tell me why each one is right or wrong. So A, read through it and then tell me why it's wrong.
Because it's talking about metals in the first for A. It's talking about metals. For B, it's saying like about bulk and weight, which is one of the reasons, but not all of them. Because there's also space. There's also like if it absorbs. There's like space also. They forgot about space. See, hardbound books can be a better choice than paperback, despite the extra bulk. If the books need to be more durable than paperbacks. Well, it's saying the extra bulk we wanted, and albumin is lighter, so well, it can't be C because the thing they're suggesting is actually more heavier, and dehydrating foods are a good replacement for ordinary foods and are more convenient for hikers because they're lighter and take up less space in backpacks, and that's spot on because it's basically saying like it's saying that they're better than normal foods, and albumin saying it's a better replacement for plasma, and it's saying it's convenient since it's lighter and it takes less space in backpacks, and it says albumin is better because it's lighter and takes less space than plasma, so that's BD.
Okay, good. So when we think about question 20, right? Essentially they're saying that there's this thing called albumin and it's better than plasma, right? Why is it better than plasma? Well, a couple of the reasons are here because it's lighter and it takes up less space, right? Now, Jaswan has pointed out that a lot of the A, B, and C, and D, they're essentially comparisons, right? They're comparing non-metals to solids. They're comparing newspapers and they're comparing hardbound books as a better choice than paperback books, right? Now, in all these comparisons, they give reasons, right? Now, the reasons they give are different, right? They say it increases the cost, but enables them to be stronger. Is that the same as being lighter and taking up less space? No, right? The next one, it says it can increase bulk or weight if it's printed in a smaller format. Again, similar, but it's still different from our main reason, right? The third one, it's saying hardbound books are better because even though they're heavier, they're more durable. But durable isn't one of our core arguments as well. And so then option D here, essentially, we're saying that dehydrated foods are better because they are lighter and take up less space, which is exactly what we had in our argument, right? So because the reasoning is exactly the same, even though the things that we're arguing are different, D is going to be the closest option, okay?
David?
Yep.
Some guy that replaced your name and he has his last name on the job, so he's called himself David Luke. He's making weird noises.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all right. Yashin, just try not to make too much noise, all right? Just try and settle down a bit. All right. So let's go on to the Cambridge questions. Do you guys have any questions so far? If not, I'm going to stop sharing this and then start sharing the new document, if that's all right. All righty. I'll take silence as an all good. So in response to Stefan, the definition of transplant, I don't know what context you're thinking of it in, but transplant normally means to replace something with something else.
It said that in one of the texts, it's something to do with the heart transplant.
Oh, okay. A heart transplant essentially means that you're replacing someone's damaged heart with a new functional heart, right? So
isn't that kind of dangerous? Because my mom read this like article about it, and that sometimes it's really odd because there was this person who had his heart transparent, and then he was like bad at singing, and then this person who was good at singing transparent their heart, which made that person who's bad at singing good at singing.
I don't think that's how it'll work.
I can't chat with any.
So in terms of how good you are at singing, that wouldn't really have anything to do with the heart. But you're right. Transplanting a heart would have a lot of risks.
There's like two ways. You might die or you might survive. Only two paths.
Yeah, essentially. Okay. Alrighty, guys. Can you guys see my screen right now?
There's a lot of background noise.
Okay, I'll mute everyone. All right. So, I think last time we got up to here.
Can we do a math question?
Can we please do a math question?
Yeah. Please.
Do question
Math questions are better.
Can I do question 14?
I'll give people who haven't had a go a turn. So I remember, I think it was Gia, Diva,
me,
Jenny.
Me.
Who wants to go for question 14 first?
Me.
Not me.
Me. Can I go? Just
Me.
All right,
Me.
Jenny, you can go.
So question for you. There are 7 books on my
Can you
shelf.
first scroll down because I can't see the.
Yeah. I can't
I'll
see
scroll
the
down
whole-
because I can't fit everything onto the same page. So read the question first, and then I'll scroll down.
Which
Okay?
are the?
No, as in like read the stem first.
I now look at them
Here, the stem
from
is
the
the
left.
stem is up here.
Where? Oh, I'm reading it. Which are visual signs when I look at them straight I see on the following picture.
Okay, so to re-clarify, there's 7 books on my shelf. They're all different sizes. When I look at them straight on, I see this point of view. Okay.
Yeah. I now
keep
look
going.
at them from the left-hand side in the direction of the arrow. Which of the following diagram is not a possible view when seen from the left-hand side end?
Okay. So just to re-clarify, the point of the question is from the front on, right? This is how we can see our 7 books. Now we're looking at it from the side, right? Think of it as if it's a bookshelf that you're looking in front of. Okay. I can't really zoom out.
Yeah, this is okay now. I think it's A, because when you have the bookshelf.
Think it's A? Why do you think it's A?
Because when you have the bookshelf, it has like. Wait, no, it's not A. Can I see E? I think it's C.
C?
Yeah.
Why do you think it's C?
Because first, when you have the short book, and then you have like a book taller than the third book from the left-hand side. But then if you see, like, there's only one taller than the first one from C. And then if you have like the 6th book, it's taller than the third book. But then you don't show the 6th book in C.
Okay. So I think C could work, but I think you have to be careful, right? The reason why is because in C, you can see here that we're actually missing. Oh no, my pen's stopped working. You can see in C that we're actually missing a bit, right? So we're missing this 2nd book. So we can see the 2nd book's outline is here, right? But the 2nd book's outline here means it's behind this book here, right? And if it's behind that book, that doesn't make sense because in our front on view, we know that this book here is going to be this 3rd book here. And this 3rd book here is behind this 2nd book, which means that it should actually look like it's in front of it, not behind it. Does that make sense? Sorry, let me connect my pen. This might be a bit confusing if I can't draw it on the screen. Come on, iPad. All right. Okay, I've got to charge my pen, so I don't think I can really show you guys. But essentially, the reason why C is wrong is because let's. Oh God, it's so hard to do with a finger. Okay, you can see I've kind of labeled these books, right? And you can see that in option C, right? We can see book 1 is here, right? We can see that they've showed book 2 is here and they've showed book 3 is here, right? This big one at the very back is going to be book 6, right? Now, why can't we see book 4 or 5? Well, the reason why is because book 4 is so short, we're going to assume that book 4 is behind books 1, 2, and 3. Why can't we see book 5? Book 5 is the same height as book 3, right? So we can assume that book 5 is behind book 3, right? Now, the main problem with option C is that from option C, you can see that it's likely that book 2 is behind book 3 from that point of view. But from our front on point of view, we know that book 2 is in front of book 3. Can you see that? And because of that, that means C is probably not going to be the answer, okay? Now, let's just clear through some of the other options and let's try and do this. So if I look at option A, right, this is going to be book 1, right? This is going to be book 2. This is going to be book 3, right? Book 4 we can't see because it's probably behind books 1, 2, and 3. And then after that, this this other book that's the exact same height, we can assume that that's probably book 5, okay? And then this one that's extra big on top, that's probably going to be book 6, okay? So I think A is, oh, actually, no, I've misread the question. Sorry. Jenny, you're right. C is the answer because I'm answering the wrong question. The question is, which of the following is not a possible view? So C is not a possible view, which means, Jenny, you are correct because A, B, D, and E are all possible views.
Okay.
That's my bad.
So C is the answer.
C will be the answer, yeah. Good job. All right, let's go on to the next one. Does everyone understand why? Like, it's essentially just because...
Yep, I totally understand.
Yeah,
That
you have
makes
to understand
sense. That
which
makes
books
sense
are in
off.
front and behind. Yep. Okay,
Can I do
we're gonna
the
move
next
on. I think Samra wanted to do one. Samra, do you want to do this one?
Okay,
Samra, are you there?
yeah, I'll do it.
Okay, feel free to go through this one.
Similar effects have similar causes. The problem is deciding when one set of effects sufficiently resembles another to infer a similar cause. You say that the universe resembles
Oh, okay.
a man.
We did this one last week. This one's very
Oh,
difficult.
yeah. This one
This one
you couldn't even solve.
Yeah, I did.
Well, I could do it, but I don't think it's worth going through because if you get a question like this, then
It was like
know.
17 times harder than selected.
yeah, exactly. So, Samra, how about I let you do question 17?
Okay. When you install a burglar alarm in your home, you do so presumably because the cost of the alarm is less than the expected benefits. The cost of a burglary, if one occurs, is likely to be much higher than the cost of fitting an alarm. A clearly visible box on an outside wall of an alarmed house alerts and discourages potential thieves. Because your house is less likely to be burgled, your neighbor's house may be more vulnerable. Therefore, while there may be little impact on overall crime levels, expensive security devices reduce crimes against those with the devices, but increase crime against those without.
Okay, so can you summarize that? There's a lot of different arguments going on there. So can you summarize that?
They're trying to say that when you have like an alarm at your house, they're saying that there's some benefits. There's like pros and cons for it. For example, like the pros could be like when you have an alarm, it discourages the thieves for like coming into your house, and there's a less likely chance for the thieves coming and burgle your house. But they're saying that the thieves have a higher chance to go to the next house and attack them instead of attacking yours. So so I think they're talking about both ideas on having an alarm in your house.
Yeah. So if I were to re-summarize it, essentially it's saying that, you know, they start the first half by saying the cost of buying a burglar alarm is often less than the expected benefits. And the expected benefits is that you'll lose a lot more money if you just get burgled, if someone just steals stuff from your house, right? Then the second part is they're saying if you get an alarm, that will reduce the rates at which your house will get burgled because people will see the alarm and they'll be like, oh, well, I'm not going to burgle that guy. But it doesn't reduce overall levels of burglaries. And that's because you get less burgled, but then the people who are burgling are still going to burgle the people close by to you, your neighbors, right? So even though your level might drop, your neighbor's level will go up. So that's what they're saying. So good summary. Do you want to go through the options or would you like me to go through those?
Okay, I'll try to do it.
Okay.
I have a question.
Jen, I'll answer the questions after, but Samra, you can keep going.
Okay.
So for the first option, for similar houses, a higher percentage of those with intruder alarms are burgled than those with alarms. I think they're trying to say that because it says in the text that with your alarms, you have a less chance on getting burgled, unlike the other houses which doesn't have alarms. So I won't say it would be A because it won't weaken the statement that much.
Yeah, in fact, A is supporting the statement, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For B, it says as the percentage of houses with intruder alarms increase from 40% to 90%,
burglary rates fell by 60%, and there was a rise in street muggings of 100%. Now, for this statement, they really don't say this in the text, and we are not even sure that this is actually true information. So I won't say B would be a good answer.
So remember, in the question stem, they say which of the following if true. So you can assume that all the options are taken to be true.
Oh,
but
okay.
yeah, I think B could be the correct answer, but it's not a
Yeah,
very strong answer.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, good.
For C, burglars perceive an alarm as a signal that there are items well worth stealing in a house, while no alarms indicates less valuable content. I don't think C even matches what this paragraph is even trying to say, because question 17 is mostly talking about the alarms, like what happens when doing it. It does, and for option C, it talks about like the items that the burglars have to aim for. Like, so I think my answer will be C.
Okay, good. So C is the correct answer. And the reason why is, as you said, right? Our argument is essentially if you install alarms, you're going to reduce the rate that you get burgled, but your neighbors are going to get burgled more, right? So overall rates of burglary aren't going to change, but you're going to get less burgled, your neighbors are going to get more burgled, right? Option C is essentially very good at countering that, in that they say that if you have an alarm installed in your house, burglars are going to see that and they're going to be like, well, this guy's house looks like it's got stuff worth stealing. Otherwise, why would you want to protect it so much, right? Which essentially means that instead of reducing the rates at which people with an alarm will get, intruded on and get burgled, it's going to have less of that kind of impact, right? So option C is clearly weakening our argument, and so option C will be correct. Now, option B was still weakening it, but it was weakening it less so, right? Option B essentially said that when the amount of houses with alarms increased, burglary rates decreased, right? Remember, we said that when there's an alarm in your house, right, it shouldn't change overall burglary rates because it just means your neighbors will get burgled. But B is saying when there were more alarms overall, right, burglary rates actually fell, which kind of does run against it, right? But when you go from 40 to 90%, 90% is a lot of houses with burglar alarms, right? So in option B, right, you can start to assume that, they're simply going to start running out of neighbors, which they can burglar if 90% of houses are fitted with alarms, right? And they also talk about a rise in street muggings, which isn't really relevant to our text. So it's not going to weaken or strengthen our argument that much, okay? So C is a good answer. All right, so we're gonna go into question 18.
Can I please explain?
All right, Gia, I'm gonna let you do this one.
Wait, did you do this one last time?
We've done it last time. We did it last
did do this
time.
one. Yeah, we did this one. All right, Gia, you can do this one.
This is the view from above of this large three-dimensional logo situated in the forecourt of the head office of Just-in-Time Enterprises.
Good. So that's the bird's eye view. Yep.
It was sculpted from a single cube of marble and has a uniform cross-section from top to bottom. Which of the following is not a possible side view of the logo?
All right, so remember, they said not a possible side view, right? That doesn't mean that it's on the left or right. It could be any side, right? Front side, back side, left side, right side. So any of those could be the side that we're talking about. You want to go through the options?
Okay, I'll try. So
Explain.
I'm gonna let Gia kind of pick through them, and we'll see.
I think. Wait, I don't really know.
Okay. Does anyone else want to have a crack at this?
Can I do it? Can I do it, please?
Yeah.
Okay. So A is a possible side of the view because if you go on the like east side thing, on the east side, if you like tilt it, it will look like A. B is also actually B. I don't think B is one.
Good. That's the answer. B is the correct answer.
Yeah, I don't think B is one. C, well, C you can look from the bottom. And D, from D you can look from the top. And E, can you scroll down, please? Oh, E, It is scroll up. Yeah. E, you can look from the top.
The right side.
Yeah,
So,
the right.
yeah, let me show you guys a really easy way to do this question, right? Because you guys can actually draw on your answer booklets. Remember this. You guys should always take advantage of the fact that you can draw on your answer booklets. So they're asking which of these is not a possible view. And you can kind of, sorry. And essentially, you can kind of figure this one out by, why is my pen not connected? I'm so confused.
I think it's not touch.
No, it's got like 40% battery, but it keeps like bugging out. I don't know why. So weird.
Oh, I know why. I know why. Because on your Apple Pencil, there's like this, like if you get a normal pencil, there's a lead. You have to screw that piece on that piece of rubber onto the Apple Pencil, and once you completely tighten it, then it will start working.
Oh, okay. It's working now. But yeah. So a really easy way is you can just draw it out. So essentially we're looking at side views, right? So if you look at option A, right? Option A here is a view from this. Oh God, my pen's not working. What the?
You have to screw it.
It's screwed. All right, so option A is a view from this side, right? And the reason why you know is if you just look at this here, right? You're essentially looking at outlines between different regions of this sculpture, right? So you can just draw it in like this, right? Every time there's a break in the line, that's going to be a new section, right? Oh, sorry, no. This is not A, sorry. This is, come on. This is the view from C.
Yeah, A is a view from like
This pen
on the right.
is so broken. Oh my God, why is this so broken? What is going on? All right, it's the view from C, right? You can see that there's the big line, then there's 3 small lines, and then there's a big line, right? So that's the view from C. The view from A is going to be the view from the right here, right?
Yeah.
You can see this like this. 1 outline,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, 5, right? Did those come through? Could you guys see that?
Yeah, no. But I
What?
get it.
See what?
I can only see the arrow. That's it. The
I
arrow.
can see the arrow on the circle there. Now I saw this
on there. Yeah, I just saw a circle, but you erased it.
Yeah.
I can see the circle over A and an arrow. And now I can see.
Here we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So essentially, that's the point of view we're looking at, right? So if you draw in the lines for which breaks you can see, you can kind of correlate them with your options A to E. And you'll find that B doesn't match anything, right? E matches the view from the right. D matches the view from the top. C matches the view from the bottom. And A matches the view from the left, from the perspective of the JTE, right? So B is the only one that doesn't match anything. So B is going to be your correct answer. Sorry about the technical issues, guys. I have no idea why this pen is. I keep screwing it shut and everything, and it's just bugging out. But does that make sense, guys?
Yeah.
Cool. Alrighty. Who else wants another turn at doing a question?
Can I do it, please?
I think there are some other people who haven't done one.
Can I do it?
Vivan, do you want to have a go?
Okay.
All right.
Can I do it?
Can I do it?
Yeah, you can. I'll start giving people second goes after.
Wait,
Can you do 21,
Can
Vivan?
I have a turn after Vivan?
I'll see if anyone hasn't had a turn yet. I think there were some people like Diva and some other people who wanted a
Diva
turn.
already had a turn.
No, Diva hasn't, not yet. All right, Vivan. Question 21, let's go.
Good idea if the police force was separated into 2 divisions. One for proper policing, example, i.e. protecting citizens and upholding law and order, and the other for road traffic. This second division could be combined with traffic wardens, as basically they are doing a similar job, obtaining money from road users. Perhaps then there would be a proper focus put on catching criminals and protecting the law-abiding public, and we would have a police force doing the job that they were actually intended to do.
All right, re-summarize to me.
So it's practically saying that there's 2 divisions in the police force. It would be a good idea to separate 2 divisions in the police force, one the traffic and one protecting citizens upholding law.
Mhm.
And
Yeah. So what was the pros and cons that they listed? What was good about separating the traffic division?
That the
So one of the reasons they separated the traffic division is they can be combined with traffic wardens, right? Because they essentially do the similar job, right?
okay.
And then the other reason is because if you separate them, then they would have a better focus on catching criminals, right? And protecting the public. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So which one of the following best describes a flaw in the above argument? Now remember, a flaw means you have to look for a core assumption that's wrong, or an argument that opposes ours. So Vavan, do you want to go through the answers? Or do you want me to?
You can.
Go ahead, Jenny. You can go to the bathroom. Yeah, Vavan, you want me to?
Yeah.
Okay. So A, it overlooks the fact that many traffic offenses are both criminal and a serious danger to the public. Okay, so A is not a bad flaw to pick, right? Because essentially, we're trying to split them into traffic and law and order, right? But A is saying that some offenses are both traffic and law and order, right? So there can be both types of offenses at the same time, and they can still be a danger to the public, right? Which means that in option A, right, that could very much be an argument against separating the two, right? B, it rests on the false assumption that police do not protect citizens or catch criminals. B is not a bad answer either. I don't think it's the strongest answer, but essentially B is saying that the assumption that police at the moment, without separating themselves, do not protect citizens or catch criminals at all is a fake assumption. They're saying that that's wrong, right? And they're essentially saying that the status quo as it is right now, there's nothing wrong with it. But I think B is wrong just because that's not quite an underlying assumption so far, right? I think 21, the STEM is saying that the police can do a better job at protecting citizens and catching criminals, but it doesn't mean that they're not doing so now, okay? C, it ignores the fact that traffic wardens and police have different duties and different powers. Now, C is directly counter to one of the statements we made, right? One of our statements is that traffic wardens are basically doing a similar job, right? And C is saying that they're actually doing a different job. Now, whether or not one or the other is true, I don't think makes C a good argument, because C is essentially just refuting one of the statements, but it's not really refuting like a core argument for why we should separate them, right? Because one of the main reasons we should separate them is still that we can allow the police to actually go catch criminals without having to deal with traffic incidents and stuff, right? D, it wrongly equates protecting citizens with catching criminals. I don't think D is correct, because D, it's not that our argument is equating protecting citizens with catching criminals. It's our argument is saying that they can protect citizens and catch criminals. They're not saying that they're the same thing. And that's not even counter to our argument, right? So what if they're wrongly equated? That doesn't necessarily mean that we're wrong, okay? And E, it implies that the police once did the job they were supposed to do. So once again, E, very similar to B, it's just saying that police, we don't care whether or not the status quo was awful, whether or not the status quo was like they absolutely did not catch any criminals, right? All we're saying is that we can improve from where we are right now, right? So B and E are not really like proving anything against our argument, right? So I think the best answer here is going to be A. Yeah, go for it, Sathini. And for question 2, I'm going to give it to Diva, because Diva's been asking. Did that make sense, by the way? 2021, Vavan?
Yeah.
Okay. Diva, question 22.
If you practice playing a musical instrument, your playing will get better. I've not practiced playing the piano, so my playing has not got better. I have an exam in 2 months' time, so I must practice every day if I want to do well. Which
All
of
right.
the following...
Can you re-summarize that?
So it's basic. The summary is like basically so it's just telling us that if you practice your musical instrument regularly, your playing will get better. But like the person's not practiced regularly, so he's assuming that he won't play well, and so he's gotten his exam in 2 months' time, and he has to practice regularly if he wants to do well.
Good. All right. So do you want to, Jenny, the answer is A, not B. Sorry. But yeah, all right, good job, Diva. Do you want to go through the options and tell me why they're right or wrong?
I'll try.
Okay.
So A says that if you practice playing the cello, your playing will get better. Dawn has not practiced much, but her playing has got better, so she must have done enough. She may even pass her grade 3 exam next month. So basically, the argument up the top is just like displaying like a really negative point of view that he hasn't practiced regularly, so he might not do well. But Dawn, the argument A says that her playing's got better, so she must have done enough, and that's a positive point of view.
Yep. So essentially, the way you've reasoned it is roughly correct. But essentially, we've said that I have not practiced, and so my playing has not got better. But they're saying that Dawn has not practiced much, right? So I assume she's allowed to practice a little bit, but her playing has got better, which is completely opposite to what we're saying, because we're saying her playing has not got better, right? And then she's saying that she might even pass her grade exam next month, but ours is saying that we have an exam and we need to practice. So it's a little bit different, right? You can compare each statement to each statement. So yeah, you want to go on to question B, or option B, sorry.
So option B says that if you work hard in sport, you'll become better. I have not worked hard in my trampolining, so I have not become better. There's a competition next month, so I must work hard if I want to do well. This argument pretty much has the same structure and reasoning as the argument above. So
Yep. Yeah, so it's exactly the same. I think it's the correct answer. So essentially, they have the almost identical. If you want to work hard, you will get better.
I thought they're talking about trampolining and sport, but they're talking about a musical instrument.
So in these kinds of arguments, right, you're not so much looking at whether or not the things they're talking about are the same. You're more talking about whether or not the ideas they're talking about are the same, right? So we're saying that, if you practice a musical instrument, you'll get better. I've not practiced my piano, so I've not gotten better. But it's essentially the same type of principle as if I say, if you practice at school, or if you practice your speech skills, then your speaking will get better. I have not practiced debating, so my debating has not got better, right? Even though I'm talking about different things, I'm talking about debating, they're talking about musical instruments. The core principle that if you don't practice, you don't get better is still the same across those two topics. Does that make sense? Okay, let me know if that doesn't make sense. I'll take the signs as a yes, that makes sense. But yeah, B here would be the correct answer. Good job, Diva. We're gonna move on from that one. So go on to question 23. Did anyone want to do question 23?
Please do one.
Yeah. I don't know who's speaking, but who was that? Who just answered?
Me.
Okay. I'll give Gia and Jasmine a second turn now, unless anyone else wants a first turn at doing a question.
Can I do a second turn too?
Okay.
Can I do this question, please?
Hi. Could I
Oh, Seon.
This question?
I don't think Seon's had a turn yet, so I'll let Seon do this one.
Legislation is needed in order to prevent the abuse of genetic testing by insurance companies. New genetic tests may reveal how likely an individual is to suffer from certain debilitating or fatal conditions in later life. Without insurance companies might make such tests compulsory and make those at risk pay more for insurance. This would be unfair. We do not choose genes, we are born with them. People should not be penalized for things over which they have no control.
Okay, did you understand that? If you want, I can help summarize that for you.
Could you help?
Yeah, okay. So firstly, the word legislation. So it's ledger, pronounced like a J, not like lega, it's pronounced like a G, right? So legislation. Legislation essentially just means like laws, right? So they're saying that we need laws to prevent the abuse of genetic testing by insurance companies. Now, essentially what that means is genetic testing is essentially testing for your genes. Now, what are genes? Genes are this little set of code that's in all of your cells, right?
Yeah,
and
you get them from your parents. So like, say your parents has something that not many people have, then you will have it, and then it comes into your DNA and stuff, and yeah.
Good. it's like a set of code that your parents give you. And what's the point of the code? The code essentially tells your body how to grow and how to function.
And it goes for generations and generations and generations.
Yeah, this little genetic code is essentially, what tells me that my eyes are going to be dark brown, and it's what tells other people that you're going to have freckles, or what tells other people that they're going to be 1.75 meters tall.
Did you know generation? Did you know generation comes from genes? That's why it's G and E in the front.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody has watched Jurassic World, they basically talk about dinosaur genes and like how they make new dinosaurs out of those genes.
Cool. Interesting.
Yeah, I've watched that. Yeah.
All right. So let's get back to the question. Essentially, the whole point of these genetic tests and why this is abused by insurance companies is essentially they're saying insurance companies want to do this genetic test to see if you have genes that could cause certain diseases, right? And they're saying that if they find these genes, right, then these insurance companies are going to charge you more money, right? Because essentially you're at a higher risk of getting some diseases, right? And they're saying that this is not fair, right? Because when you're born into this world, you don't choose what genes you get, right? The genes are just given to you by your parents. You didn't get a choice. So why do you deserve to be penalized for something you have no control over? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sam,
and I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point to agree with. Sam, did you want to go through some of those options, or do you want me to?
You too.
Okay.
What was the answer for question 23? I mean 22.
22 was B. All right, so 23. A, which of the following best illustrates the principle underlying? So A, Kylie did not deliberately get her accounts wrong, but she would pay the fine anyways. She should have made sure the accounts are right. So remember, our principle here was that you shouldn't be penalized over something you don't have control over. A, Kylie did have control over her accounts.
Left. We have 1 minute.
Yeah, sorry, I don't think some of you guys are going to get a second turn, but let me just quickly go through this, right? A is essentially saying that, because Kylie should have gotten her accounts right, so she did have control over it, even though she got it wrong, which means that it's not illustrating the same principle, because ours is about things that you don't have control over, okay? B, some people have lost everything in the flood. Their insurance companies are responsible for their losses. Therefore, the government should not help out. So, essentially, this is a little bit different. This is more talking about the idea of insurance covering damages, right? It's saying that some people lost everything in the flood and their damages were covered by insurance, right? The insurance
It's 11:30. It's 11:30.
Well, it's 11:29. Let me just finish this one off.
No, it's
therefore, the government should not help out.
11:30.
Okay, let me just finish this question off. And so this is more to do with the idea of insurance, but it's not really talking about the same principle, right? C, Philip should not receive any help paying his debts. However, sorry one may be for him. He knew in advance that his business venture was risky. So C is very similar to A in the sense that it's talking about something that people still have control over. And remember, we're talking about your genes, which you do not have control over. D, late payment normally incurs a fine, but Jamuna's payment was held up because postal workers were on strike. So she should not be made to pay the fine. Now, D is correct. And the reason why D is correct is because Jamuna's payment was held up over something she had no control over. She couldn't control whether or not her payment would have been received on time because postal workers were on strike, right? So D is correct because it directly applies to the principle that you shouldn't be penalized over something you don't have control over, okay? And that's why D is the answer. Now, I'm finishing up there. Thanks for sticking around. We are 30 seconds late. I'll let you guys go off. I hope you guys have a good week. This is our final lesson for the term.
Have a good holiday.
Happy holidays.
Have a good Christmas holiday.
Christmas.
Have a good holiday.
Have a good holiday. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Merry Christmas.
Bye-bye.
Yay. Us. Only us.
All right, I'm going to close the call pretty soon. I'll see you guys around. Bye-bye.
From the NS.
Oh, do you have a question? Sorry.
Yeah, I have a few questions from the thinking skills paper that they sent out.
Sure. Yeah, I can answer those.
Yeah.
Let me pull that up for you. Which question was this?
Question 22 and 39.
22 and 39. All right, 22 and 39.
Oh, not from this.
Not this one. Was this from last week?
Oh, what's the sample paper that they released?
The sample papers. Oh, I don't think I have access to that. Could you share screen that to me?
Okay, I'll try.
Oh wait, is it in a paper copy?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that would be difficult. Was this from week 10 or week 9? This week or last week?
It's the NSW government, they released some thinking skills sample tests.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Those would still be online, wouldn't they? Wait, Vavan, is that you?
Yes.
You're in my writing class later today, right?
Yes.
Just bring your paper and I'll answer it then.
Okay, thanks.
All right. I'll see you around, Vavan.
Yeah.
All right, I'm close the call. Bye-bye.
Good holiday.
Happy holidays.